promoting inclusivity and culturally responsive teaching. Now, we think about culturally responsive teaching all the time. We talk about it. We talk about this, the sense of identity and belonging for students. So now what we want to think about is, okay, how do we do it? We know why it's important. We know it's there. We have the research that supports it. So now what can ChatGPT do? So let's go ahead and see what ChatGPT can do.
Yeah, and Marie's comment is great as well. She said starting point, but we still got to see what else. We still got to humanize a lot of that language.
Exactly. So let's say you have a topic and it's on photosynthesis. And now you want to drill down into the cultural responsiveness. So you teach in a community, let's say, oh, look, Hollister, California. So you teach in a community where there might be, well, that's a farming community, but there also might be food deserts too, where there are droughts and there are issues with the food supply chain. And so you can ask GPT, how can I connect photosynthesis to food deserts? So you can ask, what can I do to connect to this cultural phenomenon? Or what can I do to connect this topic to what's going on in society right now? And it will give you a whole set of ideas as to how you can bring these ideas to life in your classroom. And so it goes back to what Marie was saying. Yeah, we know that cultural responsiveness and culturally responsive teaching is important. So now this is where our brain comes in by telling Chat GPT, okay, well, help me make this come to life in the classroom.
Yeah, and again, it's a great starting point, and then you can even get down even in closer with the specific language that you're looking for. But again, if you're looking at ways to create lesson plans, if you're looking like, okay, I guess what we should have said before that is you should get to know your kids first, and find out what kind of what they're interested in. So let's say you are trying to make this content relatable and create those connections for your students. You obviously want to know about the community that you're in. You obviously want to know those kind of things, and then you can even ask those specific questions to hone in really. Okay, we live in a neighborhood that has X amount of, I don't know, resources, or there's a local uh, food bank or whatever. These kind of things are available, and so now I can type those type of things in and then get those prompts. So that way, when I bring this to my classroom, my students can, oh yeah, I know about that store. Oh yeah, I know about this. Yeah, that's right down my neighborhood. And again, it gives you a great starting point. So if you're trying to, I preach a lot about being culture responsive, and it's not just me, but it's a conversation that we have a lot. And so a lot of teachers will tell me, especially our STEM folks, will tell me, "Oh, well, that's great for our history, that's great for English, but what about my STEM? How do I? What about math? What about technology, engineering? What can I do in these classes?" This is a perfect example of how you can utilize ChatGPT for your course and create those opportunities that are going to be relevant and culturally responsive when it comes to the work that you're
Yes.
doing.
That is exactly why STEM for Real was born, to be that loudspeaker to say, this includes you, this
Yeah.
includes us, culturally responsive teaching and justice centered pedagogy. Yes, that's us too.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Beth says asking good questions leads to better responses. Teaching students to ask good questions would be better than banning Chat GPT. Say
Yes.
that one more time. Yeah, I think that makes so much sense. It's great to say that, because again, the idea of banning ChatGPT, I see the caution from folks on that side. However, again, just like you said earlier, I mean, there's too many. If we're going to have that conversation, we need to have some other conversations as well.
Yeah. So now what you can do, it goes back to the lesson planning perspective. So you start your lesson plan with connecting my topic to a phenomenon. So connecting photosynthesis to food deserts. And now let's say you want to take it a step further. How can we create academic discussions and foster student to student talking and student collaboration? And this is especially going back to our work with multilingual learners. at various times there, and I cringe when I think about all of the English only, laws that were taking place, and I'm just like, okay, that set us back a few hundred years. We were thinking about multilingual learners and leveraging their home language as well, so we can use ChatGPT as that resource to help. So let's go ahead and go on this little journey.
I have a question before that. What are your thoughts on that? Because I know a lot of teachers will, like you said, will tell your students English only because, hey, I can't read anything but English. But now this could be an opportunity for maybe a teacher can copy and paste a student's work into the chat GPT and say, translate this in English. So do you think that this could be an opportunity for our students to be able to express themselves in their own language? What are your thoughts there?
Oh, absolutely. And I don't know if I'm in an echo chamber or whatnot, but I really hope that people are done with the whole English only thing. It didn't work. It doesn't work. We need to leverage home language. And I'm sure I've got, especially with some consultants in the chat, we can agree that it's always about having that home language, because once we have a student that is proficient in their home language, they'll be proficient in English. Like, that's just what the research says, versus trying to be mediocre in both languages.
Yeah. Beth says if students have ChatGPT on the phone, they can speak into the phone microphone in their home language. ChatGPT will type. I did not know that.
Oh, yeah.
ChatGPT will type a response in that language. Thank you for sharing that, Beth. I did not know that. Let's see. Lisa says, aren't there already phone apps? Yeah, I mean, there's Google Translate. That's the one I'm most familiar with. But I didn't know you could actually speak into ChatGPT. I'm gonna have to play around with that on my phone as well.
And Lisa, that's correct. However, sometimes you're in classrooms where they ban phones.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
it's, and then some people don't even have phones. So looking at how to do that. But yeah, there's definitely that. So if there is something that ChatGPT can do, more power to it. So you can start with, how can I pose a good prompt for an academic discussion that connects photosynthesis to food deserts. So here's a possible prompt. How can photosynthesis be utilized to address food deserts? And what are some potential benefits and challenges of implementing urban agriculture initiatives in these areas? Wow, so now we have this prompt that's going to talk about urban agriculture initiatives, and we have this entire, and then students can use everything that they've learned about photosynthesis to support their claims using evidence, etc. And you'll see later that we'll be able to use ChatGPT for more as we dig into this.
So here's a question. So when you were preparing for, putting this slide together, for example, I'm curious because I see that you put in what is a good prompt for academic discussions on photosynthesis and food deserts, but it came up with way more than that, right? Were there some additional prompts or some additional things that you put in to get this additional text that came through?
No, that was all my Mr. Chat GPT robot friend that came
Mhm.
up with the idea of talking about urban agriculture initiatives. Like, wow, what a great idea. Thank you.
Yeah. So not only did you get the prompt, but you also got some I guess some justification behind those prompts as well. So when your students are asking, well, why do we got to talk about this? Boom, it's right there for you.
Exactly. And then when we go on to the next slide, let's say that students are completely stumped. So a teacher or whoever can say, oh, well, they can just use ChatGPT to answer the prompt. You're
Right.
right, they can. What are some possible responses to this question? How can
Hmm.
photosynthesis be utilized? Da 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 da. And you see all of the possible responses. So going back to the question, well, what if they just use ChatGPT to come up with their responses? Why not? I mean, wow, yes, please keep going. Go ahead and keep answering. The fact that they have the drive to want to learn and want to seek out the information is great, because now they can see ideas that maybe I didn't think about in my classroom. And then we can always supplement as well. Either way, when we all come back to the discussion, we can have this robust discussion, like, so what did you see? What did you explore? What did you figure out?
I could see this being so beneficial when we're thinking about cooperative learning, group assignments, project-based learning, those type of things. And I could see just the benefits of this, because the reality of it is, I mean, we live in a society where when it comes to getting a job, when it comes to, even if they advance in college or whatever they do after they're done with school, they're more than likely going to work in some sort of a team format. And just being able to help them with these skills, let them talk about it, help them with learning how to utilize resources that are available, such as ChatGPT, I think makes so much sense. Even Sarah says, let's see, and you could ask them to extend it beyond the responses that is generated. What do you think about that? That's great critical thinking opportunities right there. Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, yeah. And now check this out. So when we go on to the next slide, you can translate all of the discussion prompts and all of the possible responses. And so going back to that question, can it do other languages? I actually chose Tagalog this time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that just so happens that we have someone on our team that spoke Tagalog, and I thought, okay, perfect. Can you verify this? And so it was great, to be able to say, oh no, I didn't have anyone that spoke Spanish. Oh, but I have someone that spoke Tagalog, and I was able to enter the information.
So we were able to confirm this is a legit translation.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So this is a big, big part about culturally responsive teaching that for some reason is not emphasized. When we think about culturally responsive teaching, all of a sudden people start talking about critical race theory that has
Yeah.
nothing to do with culturally responsive teaching. Same letters.
Yeah.
However, the biggest part about culturally responsive teaching is igniting rigor and self-directed learning. So having students be able to take ownership of their learning and be self-directed in the learning. So it goes back to my point earlier when I said in the process of cheating to find the answer, students are actually using ChatGPT as a learning tool to seek out information and seek out more of that information. So looking back at assessments, yeah, we would have to revise the way we assess. Maybe it isn't give me a typewritten paper on the benefits of photosynthesis and food deserts. Well, yeah, ChatGPT can do that. However, that you're using it as a product. Go back to thinking about it as a process, and you can start thinking about it as, oh, well, this is something that can help my classroom discussions and academic discourse and the student sense making.
You gotta give us a story behind the picture, the image that I see there. I'm just, what are you so excited about?
I must have been really excited about something related to STEM. That's usually my STEM face. And I was working with our teachers, and the photographer just caught me in this moment where I was just super excited. As you can tell, I'm a bit extroverted. So when we had to shut down and I was just teaching from a laptop, I had to bring all of my energy.
Absolutely. All right. I had to know what was the story behind this, but I mean, it's great. I'm excited. You made me excited just from looking at that because of all the possibilities that are available. Let's see. Sarah says it makes me think back to 20 years ago when dial-up, dial-up. I remember dial-up was coming out, and teachers didn't know how to really navigate the internet and email. We, as students, did. If we are doing what is best for our students, we need to be thinking on the lines of Sir Ken Robinson that we are preparing for them for a future. And he would ask, do we know what they are going to be dealing with 5 years from now? And no, but they will have to be prepared to deal with it. This is awesome. Thank you.